I'm a dude, and I'm inviting you to join me on a podcast about brews.
Does that include stouts?
Yes, of course it includes stouts. Like I was saying, join us every Saturday on the journey into...
Wait a minute. Do you guys do anything about like IPAs?
Yes,
like that?
yes, we do IPAs.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, join us on the Journey into Comics Network for Brews with Dudes.
Whoa, hey, have you guys ever... Do you care if I bring some Zima on?
Yes, I care if you bring Zima. Zima doesn't count. Zima's... Dr. Dongo. Anyway, join us every Saturday for a podcast that delves into the craft brew world.
The following
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics. Network.
Production.
Hey, this is Josh Richmond, and you are listening to the Voice of Survival podcast, exclusively on the Journey into Comics Network.
You're listening to the Voice of Survival podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nate Phillips.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Voice of Survival podcast, Season 2, Episode 9. I am your host, Nate, as the introduction said, and today joining me, a very special guest, someone who I have been trying very hard to get on this show. Welcome to the Voice of Survival podcast, Mr. Nick Maxson.
It's good to be here.
Okay, do we got vocals on you?
I don't know.
Okay, there we go.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not talking loud enough, which is rare.
We had to turn it up a little bit because we're doing the level adjust here. So
Yeah.
We're live at LaffyCon.
Yes, LaffyCon 5.
I think it's pretty awesome to interview at LaffyCon 5 because this is partially your brainchild.
Yes.
Like 40% your brainchild, would you say?
I'd say it was close to a third.
Close to a third? Cool. So, because I know that you're one of the main heads that kind of put this all together, starting with TippyCon, right? Was what it was initially called?
We were TippyCon the first year.
Okay.
Then we decided to go with a different name. We were pushed by someone to go with a different name, but there's no reason to litigate that here now. So it's TippyCon the first year. We've been LaffyCon for 4 years now, but we're still considering it the fifth because it's the same event, just a different name.
Yeah, it's the same people running it, obviously. You were just, sometimes you got to do the name change, man. Just something different. But, really, we're not here to just talk about LaffyCon and what you do here because you do almost too many things.
Way too many.
Really.
Arguably.
And it's weird because while I know all the things you do, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about your past, like where you come from, what your journey to here is. So first and foremost, are you a Lafayette born and bred kid?
Yep.
Awesome. So
in Home Hospital.
Oh, nice.
Not there anymore. They demolished it.
Gone. That's sad.
It was.
So what was growing up in Lafayette for you like? What was your experience? Did you have a lot of friends when you were little? Did you move around in Lafayette a lot? Did you kind of have one place or?
We lived in the same pretty much neighborhood for the first 7-8 years of my life, moving to different houses, but all in the same kind of area. Had a lot of friends like on the in the neighborhood.
Sweet.
So we would wake
like
up
your
in the morning,
crew,
and mom and dad didn't care if you ran around in the streets. We weren't on major streets, so we were in the middle of town. You could run around in the street, running into other kids' backyards, just running into other kids' houses. We moved out to near Romney, which is just on the outskirts of Lafayette.
Sure.
When I was 10 or 11, and we moved out to the middle of the country, and we had a huge woods behind us with a creek and everything. So we had our own bridge to Terabithia back there. And
so you literally, having the wilderness kind of brought to you like that, had a whole new world to just explore and adventure and
one
do
to the other.
What? Yeah, anything.
Urban to rural.
Oh.
And it was great, and I loved it. We had trees that had fallen down, hit by lightning. Those were castles. Climbing up, and falling out of trees and jumping in the creek, and it was great. It was fun. We had apple wars. You'd have crab apples that would fall out of the trees, and me and my siblings would fucking throw apples at each other.
Chuck them.
It was dangerous times.
Man.
Jumping out of trees, throwing apples at each other.
How many siblings do you have?
3.
All the same parents, full-blooded?
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
So, are you the youngest, middle?
Nope, I'm one of the middle. I've got an older brother, younger sister.
Okay, sweet. So, so you guys obviously played a lot and had a lot of those experiences. Did your older brother influence you in getting into music and all that? Or did you use him as kind of a guide for who you were going to become? I know it kind of just unintentionally happens a lot with siblings. The older siblings, the cool ones, so everybody's like, what are we doing?
My older brother is only about a year and a half older than me.
Okay,
so we were very close in age anyway.
Okay.
We ended up having a lot of the same friends after a while. He wasn't, I want to say he wasn't musical, but he liked music and stuff. He never was a musician per se.
Gotcha.
But he's the one that got me into System of a Down, who is one of the most influential bands for me. So he got me into good music. For sure.
Excellent. So where was him getting you into good music the spark for playing an instrument, or did that come through school and before that? Or
yeah, I would say, because it was when I started listening to System of a Down that it made me think that music could be a way to express feelings. Because when you're a kid, like it was a lot of I was born in the 90s, so a lot of pop, a lot of boy bands,
a lot of country too,
and it didn't really. I don't know. It didn't strike me as authentic. The pop music and boy bands and stuff, they talk about a lot of personal things, but it doesn't feel like authentic. You know what I'm saying?
They're so generalized.
Yeah, generalized love and betrayal. But what I liked about System of a Down was that it felt like they were angry
and tackling
and
real
that wasn't
issues.
A thing, and that wasn't a thing in pop music was to be angry with your music. It all sounds so happy.
Yeah.
So that felt more real to me. And
so did you cling first to like, oh, I need to learn an instrument, or was it immediately I want to sing, or
it was always a singing thing.
So that's been your main. Do you play guitar at all?
I dabble. But I've been dabbling for 6 years or so, 7 years.
Okay.
So,
but I think being in a band, it's almost hard not to dabble with those instruments when you're in the same room. Somebody sets a guitar down, you're like, whatever, try, dink around.
I've got way too many guitars in my house for not being as good as I should be. That's the way I view it.
Have you, written? We're kind of jumping around here, but I just wanted you talking about being in your bands. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of bands to discuss. So, what was your first musical experience as a singer?
That would be the 4th grade talent show where I sang All Star by Smash Mouth.
Did you really?
Yes.
That's amazing. Did you do well?
Yeah.
Did you feel stage fright or any of those things, if you can remember, like back then?
So I moved from the city to the country in the middle of my 4th grade year, and I did it that spring. So I already didn't know the kids very much. So there wasn't much stage fright because just being there in the first place
was stage fright.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody anyway. So, but that was kind of I was like, I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of these people. I don't know these people anyway.
That actually gives you like the I don't care in front of a crowd attitude, because exactly what you're saying. How often? Of course, local shows are kind of different. You play sometimes to the local crowd. They know you. They want you to be playing. Mm-hmm. You see the same people. But when you're out on the road and playing, you might never see any of those people in that room again, ever.
Right.
So what does it matter? Oh, I messed up. Oops. I'll move on.
Yeah.
So you do the 4th grade talent show, and you got a taste. Did people like it? Did they go nuts, or do you remember the reaction at all?
No, it was fun.
They were into it?
We were goofy, so they liked it.
Was it just you performing, or was it you and a couple guys?
It was 2 guys.
Nice. Sweet.
Yep. It was a weird group of guys.
So moving on from there, you do the talent show, and you're like, oh, cool, you're in a new area. You've got this rural environment. Obviously, being in like 5th grade, you're not starting a band. So when did that happen? I mean, how old were you when you finally said, like, what if I get with some buddies and let's make something?
So we tried I believe we were freshmen. We tried to put something together. We did another talent show type thing. We did Damn It by Blink-182.
Awesome.
then we didn't ever actually do anything except a couple cover songs. And then it wasn't until I believe I was 18 or 19 that a couple guys were writing. I would say party music. They were really into like Dance Gavin Dance,
sure,
kind of stuff, fun party stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's when I first joined. That's 2012, I would say.
And what band was that?
Weedbee.
Wow, so they are your...
My first band is the band that I'm still with.
First official, serious band. That's amazing. Yep. And so you guys have been together, what is that, almost 10 years?
6 years.
6 years? My math is bad.
Yeah, we got together in 2012. We didn't play until 2013. So we always say that we're 6 years old, but technically it's probably closer to 7.
Nice.
None of those guys are still in the band. We started, and there was 2 guitarists and a drummer. Before we played our first show, the drummer quit. And then the guy that came in, his name was Cody. He was with the band for 4 or 5 years, so he was with it for a while.
Cody Clem?
Cody Clem.
Nice.
And then
Very talented.
The 2 guitarists that were with the band initially, they're not with the band anymore. They phased out after about a year or 2.
So they didn't see music as something they wanted to
not after a while. One of the guys dealt with life, a lot of hard life things, and he just kind of removed himself. And the other guy got a good job offer out of town. So Corey Guilford joined the band after the first guitarist left, and that was in 2013. So Corey has been with the band pretty much
since the beginning. Yeah.
And then we've gone through a few guitarists. After the second guitarist quit, we got Mr. Colby Terry. And Colby was with us for 2 or 3 years, and then he got a job out in Seattle. Colby's phenomenal.
Colby Dude Music.
Kills it. He writes his own video game covers. I'd say they're heavy metal covers.
Definitely, and does like the drum programming and everything.
Yeah.
Man. Nuts.
Yeah.
He's extraordinarily talented.
Yeah, he did all of our online stuff. Like he made our website. He's a web developer, so he made us look good on the internet. And he still does. He still does all the back end stuff for us.
That's awesome. So he hasn't really he just transitioned to a different role of the band.
Pretty much.
That's great.
I still say he's the 6th member.
That's amazing.
That no one sees.
And I will say, I know this just from being around you guys. You guys have had him back on stage with you guys since he left the band to do special spots and whatnot, which has been amazing. I think he did that at Field Day last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, and I think that was when he came and did his solo stuff too.
Yes, it was absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, awesome. Anytime he's around when we happen to have a show, he's always happy to jump on stage.
Awesome. So back to it, you do Weedbee, and you're 18 into 19, 19 into 20. You're kind of coming along. We can't skip over the fact that you have a family too, man.
Yeah.
So when did you meet Jess?
That would be 2010. End of 2010.
So like right before the band ramps up.
Yeah.
Really? Well, that's awesome. So she's been with you in your musical journeys from the jump?
Yeah.
You guys have a kid together?
Yep.
How was that experience?
It's awesome.
So where's my... Is Tom 7?
Tom is 7, yep.
So same age as your band?
Yes.
That's cool. That's another really neat parallel.
Yeah.
Right?
He was born 1 year after Jess and I started dating.
That's amazing. So how was that transition into being a dad, man? That's got to be a little shell-shocking, I would assume, just because you were slightly younger. But
yeah, it was unexpected, but that's one of the things that I wanted out of life. I wanted to write stories. I've always been creating stories since I was in 5th grade. I wanted to, and I wanted to have a son. Specifically, I wanted to have a son. So,
carry on the bloodline.
So even when I was really young, I was like, man, I don't think I'm ready to be a parent. Like, well, maybe you're never really ready. I like that. That's very well said, because it's going to happen when it's going to happen, and you've got to take it, or be an awful person, I guess, is really the way to look at it, So you're going to deal with it or you're not.
So you don't just do Weedbee, though. You have also, and this is why I know you're such a passionate creator, not just, you said you love to write stories, and I think that transcends into writing lyrics, because you've spawned off several different bands. I mean, the first time I ever heard of Nick Maxson wasn't Weedbee, it wasn't Huge or anything. It was, I think, was it Edge of Oblivion?
Yeah.
You guys were supposed to do a Battle of the Bands with us.
Really?
At Royal Skate.
Yep.
Like right when we were first starting up, and something happened. You guys couldn't make the date. Maybe you had been double booked by one of your other bands or something. Some weird thing happened, but it was just like I remember Ben Rose talking very fondly of you, and he was like, "You're gonna meet this Nick guy," and then it didn't happen. It was like, shucks. And of course, this guy over here was always talking about you.
Dongo.
Yeah, the Dongolator.
Dongo and the Dog Gobblers.
Stop.
He
The
knows how
Dong
to
Father?
gobble some dogs, I'll tell you that.
He's the Dong Father.
The Dong Father.
I got him on
Nicknames
that
you don't want. Oh.
So you're in Weed B, and I got to know, when was your decision to first start spawning other bands out?
I think the first spin-off was Boner Jovi,
Sweet.
which is just night and day. Boner Jovi is a cover band that specifically plays hair metal.
But you guys do it so well.
Oh, yeah. No, we dress up and
You
we're-
take it
we're
to the
wild.
max. And let me say this. I want to say, just because maybe some people don't get and appreciate this that much, once you guys go into the Jovi characters, you're not coming out.
No, yeah.
You're there all night.
Yeah, we're locked in.
It's very impressive. It's almost kind of hard to like talk to you as like the promoter, because I'm like, hey man, like what's the deal? And you're like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like
when I'm in the mode,
you're there.
When I'm in Johnny Joe Boner mode, it's
man. But
hard
you
to get
guys,
out of it.
you know, energy and being able to play music together supersedes, I think, necessarily creating your own music. I think if you can find people that you lock in with musically and create anything that like you connect with each other, you're going to do something that's better. So I love that you guys have Boner Jovi as a thing, but you guys have also created like people that love seeing you live, and they are cover songs, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
They're there for the party experience and all of it. He knows.
Dave Chips.
Yep, Dave Chips and the thing.
That one time we had a feud going on. Boner Jovi had a feud with another group of guys, the Outhouse guys, the Dwarf Among Midgets guys, and Dave Chips was in our corner until one time when we were playing, he came up to sing a song with us and went heel in the middle of the match. Stone Cold Stunner, Johnny Joe Boner, and then the Dwarf guys started throwing TP. They TP'd the venue. The entire venue was totally covered in TP. And I was buried in TP after being stunned.
Oh,
it was
man.
wild.
Is that the craziest experience with that band you've had, you would say?
We played the Doom Room's tree stage, and the tree stage is just, we put some boards underneath a tree that was really cool. We put lights in the tree. It actually looks really, really cool. It just sounds
I've
silly.
been there. Yeah, I've seen it.
I fell out of the tree.
Ouch.
While performing. That was kind of a mess.
Oops.
But no, I'd say that the TP was probably the funnest Boner Jovi experience. And Boner Jovi became a thing because, what was it? We had a poster. Someone had broke one of my posters that was in a frame on the wall. So I went and looked through all these posters. I had a Bon Jovi poster.
All right.
I got it from Hot Topic because I worked at Hot Topic, and they just got rid of shit. I'm like, I don't know why I'm going to need this Bon Jovi poster, but I need it.
Never know.
So I put it up on the wall, and within 10 minutes, the guys in a band called Lucifist had taken Sharpies and just wrecked the poster. Just drawing penises all over the place.
Of course.
It was real lewd.
But funny no less.
But so the whole band was spawned from defacing a Bon Jovi poster.
Wow. Because
I say we've got a whole list of jokes that went way too far.
And that was a joke that went too far?
Boner Jovi was a joke that went way too far.
But it worked
and
out,
is now
right?
a 6-year-old band.
Wow.
We've had years where Boner Jovi played more than we'd be.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, that's got to kind of be, being that I'm also a person who is in multiple different avenues of life and have to kind of keep track of it all, that's got to kind of be good for you, though, because you get to kind of, like, rest your bearings on doing Weed B, so when you do it, it's super fresh.
Yes.
Then when you jump to do Boner Jovi or Huge, it's fresh. You don't feel like, man, I've been grinding away 6 years with these guys at practice every week, the same 10 songs every week.
Yeah.
You know, you have escape.
Yeah,
that's huge. It's absolutely huge. So
you go through seasons.
Yes.
Like, and I tell people, they're like, "Hey, we should get Huge up and running again." I'm like, "Well, we're about to record an album, so Weed B gets another 2 or 3 months, and then I can move on to the next thing." And
So, Jovi was first. Who was next? Or what was next, I guess, is a better way to ask that question.
I'm going to I usually forget about Edge of Oblivion. It's funny that you mentioned I might not have even thought of it. It was probably Edge of Oblivion next.
Really?
And then Huge would have followed after that.
Man, you have, and those are all different stylistically, different kinds of things.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yep.
So that's got to be a fun avenue, too, that you are able to dip into. It's not like you're in 4 different hardcore bands.
It gives me the ability to practice different things without tarnishing what a certain thing is. Because I do those heavy metal vocals, but I want to do cleaner stuff. But that's not necessarily a Weed Bee thing right now.
Totally.
So that's what makes Boner Jovi fun, is I get to go up there and make different weird noises with my mouth.
Yeah.
So
I like how that was said, weird noises with your mouth.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of go all over the place here. So you are in bands, and I feel like that's going to spawn right into the next thing. You're widely known as the founder, the creator, the mastermind behind the Doom Room.
Yes.
Which came first, the Doom Room or the Weed Bee?
The Weed Bee.
So, and then I'm guessing out of not having anywhere possibly to play, you said, no.
Yeah.
I'll make my own thing.
So we played, our first show was a house show at a place called the Hilltop Fortress.
Okay.
And we played our first couple shows there, and I always tell people that we were like incredibly bad. Just
is that just internal?
All fresh guys.
Is that internally
No.
telling? But you actually feel like it was a bad performance.
If we had seen Weed Bee play, we would be like, "Damn, these guys need to go practice."
Oh.
But it was fun, and we were energetic, and we were young.
Got a taste.
And they let us play, and they asked us to come back and play. So when they stopped, so that was the Hilltop only continued doing shows for another 6 months or so after we started playing. So we decided, since we were starting to look for a house, we looked for a house with a basement so that we could have a practice space but also be able to do shows if we wanted. So it was a way of continuing the legacy, because there's always been, for the better part of 13, 14, 15 years now, we just call it the Lafayette metal community. And the Hilltop was, they carried the torch. Before them it was the Suicide Dungeon, and before then it was the Flayed House, and there's just all these different house show venues. So we anticipated carrying on the torch that way until my ambition got in the way, and I was like, we should go play shows that are not at the house. But so then that's when we started going and looking for other venues to book additional shows, because we booked house shows and other venues at the same time for 3 or 4 years before the cops finally were like, you guys can't actually do this stuff at your house. I'm like, well, okay.
Really? That's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what their reasoning could be, especially, your location, you got to think you don't have really super on top of you neighbors.
Nope, not at all.
You have open fields behind you.
Yep.
I don't think you were endangering anybody by playing shows per se.
They
maybe
would argue against that, but
because the capacity in your house was too much.
That was one of the more believable excuses, was there wasn't an extra exit in the basement. So if something went wrong, there was only one staircase. And we packed 100 people in that tiny little basement.
Wow. What's that like, having 100 possible, maybe some strangers in your house?
Oh, it was always strangers. There were thousands of people
that you don't know, possibly
that came in
and out.
A lot of them that you wouldn't know, but a lot of them that you got to know.
That's sweet. So you kind of, one thing I want to say is that the Doom Room isn't just like this brand. It actually almost has its own personality, because the building itself took in different characters. Dongfather over there was a character.
Yep.
He's not going to live that down.
He doesn't like that one. That's when you know you're doing it right.
A lot of the Bruise crew, I think, that you have now, probably.
Oh, all of them.
Originated.
I guess Brett and Zach were buddies that I've been friends with for years.
Oh, excellent.
But I would say Dave, Dick, those are guys that I met through that community.
So how did it feel to take the, I don't know if you necessarily meant to take the responsibility off of Hilltop Fortress's back and carry the torch, but Did you, when you started booking these shows, realize that's what you were doing, or were you just like essentially the goal that was in front of you was playing another show, putting another show together? It wasn't looking at the big picture of it all.
I would say it was. I'd say it was big picture.
Sweet,
because like I said, those first couple shows were pretty rough, but the fact that they were still like, well, you guys need to get out and play. Like you need, and they were very inviting. I wanted to give that back. Because I wanted to give bands the opportunity to play when you're not good. Because lots of bands don't come out the gate kicking.
It takes practice. Very difficult.
So I wanted to be able to give back and give back to the community they gave to me.
Sure. So you got busy with it, man. I mean, you guys were booking Lafayette Theater. I mean, there's a whole Doom Room shows map now that exists. That's amazing.
Yeah, we did that a couple years ago, but it's still pretty accurate. There's been
a name change at least.
25 different venues in Lafayette that have catered to our styles of music.
Excellent.
Which is, I guess, so before the Doom Room, the Lafayette metal scene was pretty metal. And we stuck that way for quite a while, where we booked primarily heavy bands. But now we book anything. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite acts, I haven't personally seen them live, but you guys had them through, and because of that I checked them out, was Seven Sons. Mm-hmm. Those guys are phenomenal, and they're not like metal like you would expect. It's a totally different quartet. Amazing. Yeah. Totally amazing. We booked a ska band a couple weeks ago. What? Last night we had a dance chiptune guy play drums to backing Game Boy tracks. That's amazing. It's wild. That's cool. So super cool. So when you were doing all this and bringing all this music back to the community, you weren't just also focused on music. You started to find a love for beer and brewing beer. Yes. So when did that jump into all of the things that you're involved in? The home brewing started in 2014. So not too long after you had got the Doom Room up and live, right? Yeah. It's like it's all intersecting within each other. Mm-hmm. You're very ambitious. I just want to say that. Yeah. You put a lot of different things on your plate at that time for sure. Yeah. I like to put my eggs in all sorts of baskets. It served me well. There's a dozen eggs in a carton of eggs got to put in places, But so when did you decide, like, man, I'm going to just start brewing beer? Like, let's do it. We had been exploring craft beer. The early stages, too, because it didn't really break out until like 2012 or 13, I would say, right? I would argue that definitely in the past 8 to 10 years, it's gotten wild with the variety. But, we were those guys that, when you're younger, we were just drinking shitty beer. Bud Light. Paps, Bud Light, all that stuff. Yep. And eventually you get the one good beer, and you're like, well, that's actually, like, not bad. Like, I actually enjoy drinking this. And we would, we were exploring, we thought we were drinking all sorts of crazy stuff. And we eventually decided, let's just try to do it ourselves. And then since then, as you're very well aware, we started a podcast where we tried new beer on every episode, and we're drinking anywhere from 4 to sometimes 8 beers an episode, and we're on episode 80 now. So just in the past year and a half, we've tried well over 300-400 beers. It's one thing crazy, but it's another thing. It's admirable because it allows you to have such a vast palate. Without question what kind of beer Nick Maxson likes to drink over anything else. If you're going, because I'm sure you're probably like me, my experience when I go to a restaurant, not necessarily just with beer, but with food in general, I don't always order the same thing. I like to try different things just to go, well, I tried it. Yeah, maybe exactly. So then if I do go to a place, I'm like, I know for sure today what I want, So in doing the home brewing, you started Maxson's and Me, which is your homebrew company. Yes. I guess you'd say is the best way to say that. Yes. How many beers do you think you have brewed since you started that? I would say somewhere near 25 unique recipes, and then we've redone almost all of them at least once. Just to see if you could either A, recreate, or B, you could
tighten it up to make it better for X, Y, or Z.
Yes.
Do you write notes down when you?
Oh yeah.
So you have very meticulous notes of this is what we did right. This is how we did
Yep.
it. If we're gonna tweak, this is the thing we probably should do. That I mean, again, science, and it takes a lot of guts to jump into something like beer making.
It's the perfect mix of both science and creativity. So in the beginning, I had no science, all creativity. I want to make this. We made a cinnamon ghost pepper stout.
I remember
Why?
I tried it at the first LaffyCon I
we got-
hosted.
We're throwing it in the kitchen sink. You know, we're just like, let's do this and let's do this, let's do this, and you can do that just from a creative standpoint, or you could go in and know exactly why you're putting in that much. And I do that a little more now, but I still like to just go, here's just a pinch.
Ooh, Salt
you know?
Bay. I love it.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you Hops Bay.
Yeah, Hops Bay.
So thank you. So one thing that probably helped doing Maxson's and me is you also had an opportunity to work at a brewery that has allowed you to be in a part of that science. So you've now learned more of the sciencey stuff as well. Now you're creating an even balance of your creativity
both.
and your science. So as far as Maxson's and me is concerned, I know you have a lot of big things planned and a lot of things coming up. I don't know how much of that you can talk about. You're kind of the gatekeeper, so I guess it's your choice. But I just know that as far as that venture is concerned, you're destined to do well because the first beer I tried of yours was that cinnamon ghost pepper beer right here on this very stage. And it was the weirdest, best, strangest, hottest,
What
ever.
am I doing?
But it worked.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. It actually worked. Cinnamon ghost pepper? That shouldn't work. But you did it. So, okay, let's get back into it. I actually know the answer to this, but most people probably don't. What inspired you guys to start Huge?
So Huge is our political band.
Sure.
I don't say that it's anti-Trump. We're not just going up there and talking about the Cheeto Man. But we go and we poke fun at all
The things
the
that are poke
wild
funnable?
stuff going on. You know,
Cheeseburgers.
It's not saying fuck this guy, fuck that guy. It's saying I'm the cheeseburger king. You know.
I hope that you write a song on your next Huge album called Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
Or Kofife.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah, Kofife.
We have a Kofife song.
Oh, yeah, you did it. You guys did that.
We
That's
have a
my
spray tan song.
See, that's using music for comedy, too.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily, and that's another thing that we should probably talk about being in bands. Being in multiple different kinds of bands allows you to take it in different levels of seriousness.
Yes.
Like, you're very committed to what Weed Bee is doing. And not to say you're not committed to other things, but that has a different end game.
They've all got different vibes.
Correct.
Weed Bee is the sci-fi black and death metal band. And then Huge is more of the comedic, it's going for the system kind of thing.
Totally. Politically aware, but also having some comedic aspects and elements to it.
Yeah.
While still being wicked.
Yeah.
And breakdowny.
Yeah, I like Huge a lot.
Yeah.
We're coming back.
I know. I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Heck yeah. Another thing that you guys do is, I'm going to screw this up. I guess you don't really have a name for it, but Weed Bee has started to venture into something that's probably really personal for you in doing some System of a Down songs.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, that's got to be a little bit like cathartic to go back to the music that really is what got you into music and to then have the crowd give you that energy. I saw you play some of that stuff, and it like I've seen Weed Bee a couple times, but that was a different experience seeing you guys do the System of a Down stuff, feeding a different energy. Is that something you're going to spawn off possibly in the future to a whole nother avenue, or is that overzealous?
It has been talked about.
Discussed.
It has been talked about.
Okay.
So it's a different thing, you know.
It is.
We did it. It was a Halloween show, so bands will for Halloween. I don't know why it's Halloween in particular. I guess since you're dressing up as something that you're not. So we did. Someone asked us to do a System of a Down cover set, so we learned 30 minutes worth, and we're like, we could have played 3 hours worth if we pick. Like everyone's like, I want to play this, I want to play this, I want to play this, and it's hilarious that every 5 members of the band, everyone had 10 songs they wanted to play that we didn't get to. You know,
Literally the whole discography of System of a Down.
like-
I'm a huge System of a Down fan, and you take anything off of the first album, anything off of Toxicity, Steal This album, a little subjective. There are some really cool hidden gems, like Sudi P and IEAIAO is a great song off that, but like then you get into Mesmerize, Hypnotize, and those are albums you should
Those
just
are the
play the
ones
complete,
I wanted.
every song front to back, man, would
Yeah.
be, that's an epic experience.
I love it all, but yeah, it's the Mesmerize, Hypnotize stuff that the guys weren't like. They like it too, but they're like, let's go play those stuff. I'm like, but what about Question, man?
Question's
What about-
I'm so glad. Sad Statue? Come on now. Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
It's all great. So we're definitely gonna, because we're, like I said, we're a heavy metal band. Our music it's blistering fast, and the vocals are very, very harsh. But System of a Down is its own separate thing, and we just like playing music. So if we can play in front of a crowd that's going to appreciate this, then we'll do it. If we can play in front of a crowd that's going to appreciate this, then we'll do it. So we've talked about trying to book ourselves simply as a System cover band. Same band, all the same members.
Would you ever consider doing like the kill yourself mode and booking Weed Bee and the tribute band back to back?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we did
man.
that. We did that twice with this set. So we were asked to do the System cover set for a particular show.
Which was Outhouse's Halloween?
Outhouse
this
show.
Last Halloween, right?
We did 4 different shows with the System set.
Wow.
2 of which we played double sets.
How was that experience? Exhausting?
It was a little exhausting
Yeah.
because I'm not used to playing that much.
And especially giving your energy as Weed Bee is one thing, but then having to do a second set of giving the energy and then giving people energy that they already aware of. Like, System is such a legendary band, so you can't half-ass it.
Nope.
Because they're going to know, so you had to just really bring it. You're a very ambitious guy. I need to know, who are some of your influences, not just in music, but in life, that have inspired you to be the man you are, that isn't afraid to try different things, isn't afraid to put your eggs in multiple baskets and, run things till the wheels fall off?
That's a good question. I got really into Gary V.
I don't think I know Gary Vee
and
unless
Gary Vaynerchuk.
I've seen him on Facebook, I think, right?
Yeah.
He's like a real harsh but very honest dude.
Yeah. And I read a couple of his books, and
Sweet.
it's about the grind. Like, people say, I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough time for this. Like,
Make time.
You don't realize how much time you spend looking at your phone. You don't realize how much time you spend just, piddling around.
Or sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm of one mind, like, if I got stuff to get done, I'll sleep later. Like, and even if I need to cut my sleep short, so what? I know I got my stuff done. That makes me feel way better, and I'll sleep way better than stressing that these things didn't get accomplished. Like, oh no.
And I don't know if I could pinpoint exactly where it comes from, but I just always have an idea. I feel like I come up with multiple brand new ideas every single day, and I forget 4 out of 5 of those brand new ideas.
Gotta have a
every single
notebook.
day.
You write down your ideas. Your
I've
ideas
got
book.
several notebooks, and I've got ideas that are never going to be touched. I've got ideas that I want to do, but I've got other things going on. I just always have I've always got a million things going on, and I don't feel like there's time to waste.
And another thing, if you start to put too many commitments, then you run into not nurturing everything with as much time as they need.
And I have been there.
So what was that
more
like,
often than not.
stretching yourself too thin with some of the things you do? Because, you run shows constantly. You're constantly working or doing podcasting. And, I feel like you're the kind of guy who, if you were a hunter, you use every part of the deer.
Yeah.
Down to the bones.
Yep.
Like, oh, hey, I'm going to play games, and this is my one night a week to nerd out with my nerd friends. But that's also, like, really funny content. I should record that. Now Dungeons with Dudes is a thing, you know? So, like...
And it's hard to... It's a hard juggle trying to being a content creator. There's just so many different things, like you said, like my week is mapped like to the half hour. Like, I'm doing this till this time, I'm doing this till this time.
You can't deviate, because if you do,
then
it all goes off the rails.
Then the things aren't getting the nurturement that they need.
And like,
it's hard.
Heaven forbid, or like, you have something, and I've experienced this with you, where like there's a show and everything's going to plan, and then one thing that no one in the entire building could have predicted happens, and it's put the show off an hour, and immediately your stress level, because you're like, come on, man, like, can we just keep it going?
Rolling? Yep.
And I think that's one thing that you recover quickly. Like, you don't really dwell on things when they get tough. You just like, okay, well, the only way to continue is to keep going.
Yeah, because I've been there. Things don't have to derail. It can get a little wobbly, but you got to try to make sure you don't go off the tracks.
I think that a great thing to say is that you're going to be a really big inspiration to Tom when he becomes more aware of all the things that you do and the plates you juggle consistently. What is that like, giving him, because it's hard being a parent of a younger child. There's only so much kind of advice you can give to a point that they can even understand. And, I think you are a very kind, gentle person in your parenting. So do you have it mapped out to spend time with Tom, like in a certain XYZ setting? Or is it like, no matter what, if this is happening, Tom should be there. We can do this. We should do that.
It's definitely become that more lately.
Yeah, because he's growing up.
Because he's more grown up. He's 7 now. It's harder to do that when they're younger. But, yeah, we're to the point now where, like when we're doing Dungeons with Dudes and stuff, like we haven't got there yet, but it finally clicked. He can just do it with us.
Yeah.
There's no reason that he can't be part of it. So there's definitely those times where it's like mapped out time just for him. But when you can, just have him there with you so he can see it, because he's going to look back. You may not realize it now, but he's going to be like, Dad was always busy doing
constantly
stuff. Always.
Yeah.
So
does that terrify you too, to think that someday he'll listen back to your shows, like your podcast? Because it's like a chronicle of
absolutely
the early days of him growing up and whatnot. And it's really your journey more expressed.
Yes.
It's like a live audio diary, really.
Yep.
So
I'm a story writer, and I try to, I keep journals, I keep diaries to remember things like that. But it's one thing to read someone's words, and it's another to hear their voice, and it's another to see them.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be cool for him. And he already wants in on it.
We've inspired the next generation.
He watches the YouTube content creators, and he's already asked. He's like, I want to have a YouTube channel, Dad. I'm like, welcome. Welcome, son.
Glad you could join the fold.
You joined at 7 years old. You were ready to rock. So
that's amazing. So what's next for you, Nick? I mean, I feel like you have a million ideas. I want to ask, is there any plans to write a novel or a book or a story that you have been maybe procuring through your life that you want to get out there? Or?
There's definitely a story.
Cool.
A story that I've been working on for a very long time. It just needs love and attention. I think it's going to coincide with the latest Wheatbee, because Wheatbee used to write single songs about single subjects, and with this latest body of work, we've got about 100 minutes worth of material that is a concept album.
Sweet.
It's a story. So I wrote the story, and then it was translated to lyrics. So you've got multiple layers where the story doesn't match the lyrics, and the lyrics don't match the story, but it's all telling the same story, just
different perspectives and stuff. That's amazing.
So that's the biggest. I'm tidying that up right now.
That's crazy. You literally do not spend any time doing nothing, I feel.
Nope.
Like that.
I feel like I'm wasting time when I'm like playing video games, which is one of my favorite things in the world to do. But still got to do that.
You're like, oh yeah, it's on.
You got to do something. You got to do something like that. Something somewhat mindless.
Turn your brain off.
Yeah.
You have to get away from, and I realize it's weird. I don't know if this happens to you when you're in music work mode. I will work musically and like be focused on, we have practice or this show coming up or whatever, that I won't listen to any music at all. I'll deprive myself of any music.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't turned the radio on in 2 weeks. Song.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, there's music.
There
like
we go.
that now I feel better, I feel like man, you have the Doom Room, 2 different successful podcasts, all these successful bands. Is there anything that you're not doing at all that you're like, I'm going to do that one day? I am absolutely going to, and I know we just talked a little bit about the story, but I think maybe there's other possible.
I need to start training myself for my bike ride across the country.
Really?
That's a dream of mine that I've toyed with for a while.
Would you start here, or would you like fly to New York and then do a coast to coast?
I feel like it'd be a coast to coast kind of thing.
Whoa.
I don't know if I want to do a four corners or just straight across.
Whoa, you're very, very ambitious. That's wild.
Yeah, that's probably the most wild thing that I want to get to work on.
Okay, so you said about the wild thing you want to get to work on. What's the most wild thing you have done in your life to this point? Or most adventurous? maybe is the better way to ask that.
Most adventurous.
Some people skydive. Some people.
That's on my list.
Horseback ride.
I've not rode a horse.
Same. I rode an elephant though. It's weird.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I feel like I do whatever I want.
Okay.
Like anytime there's an opportunity, I like to take it. So I've gotten up and just drove halfway across the country before. Like fist my down. Like, oh, wait a minute, they're playing and I'm not going to get to ever see them again. I guess we're driving 18 hours to go see them right now.
Because there's no other chance, and they might not ever be back.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the, I hate to use this term, but the YOLO of that.
Yeah.
Like, you do only live once. You only have one opportunity to experience these things. Why deprive yourself if you can just soldier through?
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. I tried to not deprive myself of any opportunities.
Life's enjoyments.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, Nick, I think this has been a very successful Voice of Survival.
Yeah.
I feel like we've touched on a little bit of everything, which leaves us open to have a way deeper conversation the next time you're on.
Right.
Which we're going to. But is there any closing thoughts you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I don't think so, man.
No?
This was a lot of fun.
Well, heck
It's
yeah.
fun. It's fun looking back on all the things that have been going on.
I had one of my guests earlier this season say you don't spend a lot of time reflecting on your own life because you're so caught up in living it.
Yep.
That when someone asks you questions about like what you were doing or why you thought that or why that happened, that you just like you have to actually take the blinders off for a second and go, wait, what is my life? Like what happened? Yeah. And I love your story. I like your journey. I feel like again, there's so much to uncover. Like I want to learn more about like the teenage years and learn about how transitioning through high school went, because I feel like you probably had a little bit of a rough path like I did, maybe being in a different school, right? Transitioning in 4th grade, your kids are harsh at that age.
Oh yeah.
So
this was Intro to Nick Maxson.
Intro to Nick Maxson.
Next time on Voice of Survival with Nick Maxson.
Chapter 1.
Yeah, we dive into the nitty gritty.
I'm all about that. Hell yeah, man. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Voice of Survival. I want to thank you guys so much here at LaffyCon for listening into this story. Thank you guys so much if you're an audio listener. Make sure to check out both of Nick's shows coming up on Saturday and Sunday on the Journey into Comics Network with Brews with Dudes and Dungeons with Dudes. You get them every Saturday and Sunday right here on the Journey into Comics Network. That's going to do it for this week's episode. I've been Nate.
I've been Nick.
Thanks for being on, man.
Anytime.
It was awesome. All right, thanks, folks, for listening. We'll see you later.